Tēnā rā koutou. Oku manuhiri, kia koutou mā. Ngā manuhiri tuarangi, tēnā rā koutou, tēnā rā koutou, tēnā rā koutou katoa. Well, guys, first time we've had the minister here. Finally, it's taken us all these years to get her here. So what do you think, guys? Some really good, pointed questions came out of that, especially around the one that really bugs us as SEANZ. So thank you, Clayton McKnight. We were hoping for someone to ask that question. Did we get the answer we wanted? No. Not yet. You know, there's something about policy and regulation in the government sector, and I talked about this yesterday. And within a number of sectors, of which the energy sector is one, we all call it the same thing. No disrespect to our MB friends here today, but it's called the big black hole, because nothing ever comes out. So stuff that we started 5 years ago, we're still waiting for some traction on. So let's move on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the political position, the political party positions, where they're at, what they're saying, who's good, who's bad. Before I start, I do want to ask one question. We want a really good sense of, from the industry, about this whole gig around rebates. So can I ask you, please, raise your hand if you support rebates. Please, raise them high. Raise your hand if you disagree with rebates and believe in an organic growth market industry. Well, that's pretty obvious, isn't it? That's pretty clear. Gary Holden from Lodestone's talking after me, and Gary's got some really clear messages around this, given his experience around the globe. So thanks, Gary. Okay, let's rip through this. The trifecta nexus as we define it. SEANZ represents this: residential, commercial, industrial, and of course now utility scale. What's new? What's new in the whole solar sector? A whole bunch of stuff is new. The first thing is this. This is no longer about whether solar is good or bad. That narrative stopped about 3 years ago. And for those of you who are aware, we spent a lot of time arguing the shit out of this about how good solar is, as opposed to a whole bunch of other generation types, especially when it comes to consumer centricity, because that's where it started. Things happening across the trifecta right now. Pretty obvious. Investment in solar. The SEANZ group membership has grown near 80% in the last year. If you're a member, you come to the AGM this afternoon, we'll go through all those numbers. You will be amazed at the growth. Acquisition by external investors, there's an obvious one. A key one is this: interest in workforce development. Now, this is a debate I've been having with Megan's office for the last few years. How can you help us develop the workforce required? If you're talking about decarbonising the whole of the country, how's that going to work when we don't have the resources we need to build this capacity and the capability? So it's all good having rebates maybe in place, but who the hell's going to install them? If we're already at near full capacity now, how's that going to work? So we're talking to her about, if that does happen, give us 20 million bucks and we'll make it happen. Our website, the SEANZ website, we have this professional member directory where any consumer can go there and select who they may want to talk to install PV at residential or commercial level. And I tell you what, guys, the growth in those numbers has been absolutely significant. I put up some numbers yesterday to show everyone what those numbers would look like. And of course, it's an election year. What does that mean? Well, you heard the first part today from Megan. What else have we got? This is something we want to talk about to give you a good sense of where we sit. Look at the doubling of that capacity out to 2040 from where we were in 2016. But here's the cruncher, here's the kicker. Global number. And then we have this thing called flexible capacity. Who is here from the Flex Forum? Shay. Good man. What does flexible capacity mean? Lots of stuff. So SEANZ is now a member of a group called the Flex Forum, which is supported currently by a number of organisations, because this can play a huge part in here. Our next slide. Obviously, we want to understand where we sit with demand response, batteries, and we can see here what that looks like, that growth curve looks like in here for small scale and for utility scale. But of course, by far and away the biggest is demand response. Now, I showed this slide yesterday. This is a slide that shows very clearly around the globe what decentralized uptake looks like as a percentage of overall generation by country. As we know, Aussie, subsidised market, with all their hassles, out to 2040, or in actual fact, huge growth out to about 2030-ish. Australia, Germany, who's next? Japan really started taking off back here as a result of the nuclear stuff that happened. So the question is, where does New Zealand sit? Rather than asking you, because that'll take too long, here's the answer. This is based on the forecast from Transpower, MB, and SEANZ. Out to 2035, out here it sits at around 14 to 15%, which is still quite a big number. Unsubsidised is my point. If it's subsidised, who knows? Again, another slide that I showed yesterday shows very clearly what happened to panel pricing out of China. Way, way down here. This is as at the 20th of June of this year. Polysilicon. So what does that all mean? Growth. Growth is imminent. Huge growth is absolutely imminent. Let's look at our numbers where we are now. That's currently connected ICPs for PV, currently sitting at 50,188 as at the end of August. However, you can see the little dip down there which happened in March of this year. This is the cumulative total, and you can see a huge jump from February to March. That jumps around 2,100 units. So as I explained yesterday, that is all about batteries and PV being reported mixed between this category and this category. The Electricity Authority, when they put the numbers together, made that adjustment and let us know that's what the adjustment was. So the total amount right now sits at 55,000. 55,000 connected ICPs, both including batteries and on PV by themselves. That's pretty clear, right? Our monthly numbers. Anyone got a sense of what the average number is monthly the industry's installing at rooftop level? There was a time when it was like 5. It's currently at 854 in the last year. So significant growth, right? But as you can see towards the end there, a dip down. And we know why. Cost of living, interest rate hikes, etc., etc., etc. Who here is from Central Otago? Oh, g'day, Mike. But guess what? The average ICP uptake rate throughout the country is currently around 2.7%. In other words, 2.7% of all the ICPs here are connected. 1.3 million ICPs. Well, these guys here in Central Otago have doubled that number. It currently sits at 6.3%. So that's saying 6.3% of all ICPs in Central Otago are now PV connected. So what's in the water? What's in the water there, Regan? Matt? Ah. Okay, let's just summarize that in residential. That's what the numbers look like. If we break it down and go further into both commercial, SME, commercial and industrial, that's what the numbers look like. It's all heading one way. There's only one way it can go, and that's where it is, right? And there's the mix. So we're showing a total number of 55, 89% at residential, and the balance at SME, commercial, and industrial. But what we do have is a total of 307 megawatts over the whole lot as at August the 1st. This time last year, we announced our forecast and a target number by 2035 of connected ICPs. That number was 345,000 based on our modelling, working with the Transpower numbers and MB. What's the balance to go? 289, 290k to go at rooftop level, unsubsidised. And of course, there's our mix. Let's take a quick transition to utility scale. Who's seen this? Right, you know what this is, right? This is simply showing you the number of inquiries. This is what Megan was talking about. The number of inquiries at Transpower for connection to their network up and down the country. Potential megawatt capacity at 37.2 gig. Right? Inquiries only, right? If we look at the next slide, this breaks down the inquiry stages. So you can see down here, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stages, once that inquiry is lodged, that you've got to go through. The thing that we want to know about is this. This little brown circle here that says solar, these are all the solar inquiries. By far and away, the greatest number, the biggest number. Right, so no surprises, right? And here they all are. So we have the stages, application confirmed, investigation, and delivery, or in delivery. So that's consenting at Transpower level. You want to go to this. That's at Transpower level. This is at EDB level. What we don't know as an industry is what's happening along the 29 lines companies and their applications for solar farms at that level, at distribution level. Except one. We've got a bit of an idea. Who's here from PowerCo? Thanks, guys. Thank you very much. So they're indicating or showing what that kind of looks like, mixed in with their other applications on grids to their connect part of the network. But right now there's no transparency with distributors, with network operators. We don't know. We've got a whole bunch of members, network operators who are members, and I go and ask them the question, and it's like, talk to the hand, Brendan. There's some reasons we want to know, and they should be pretty clear and pretty obvious, right? So one of the questions we continually ask ourselves at SEANZ is this: what does the industry need for rooftop and for utility scale? What do we need? Standards, number one. Workforce development build. Funding to do that. Resources to do that. We've been talking around, and it's not a scary word, this word accreditation for installation. As this industry grows, we need to be able to audit. We need to be able to understand the good stuff and the bad stuff. Because right now, as some of the guys would have heard yesterday, there is some not so much good stuff going on. So the point of yesterday, for those that were here, with our man from the Roofing Association, was to challenge our members and our non-members about what they are doing and the implications and who carries the risk in specific areas. And that was a really interesting session. What do you think industry needs? We ask this question all the time, and we get 50 million different answers. Everyone has a view on what it should be. So it's our job, our responsibility to take in all those views, filter them, and get them down to some key stuff that we can work with. So I've just been given the message here. Quick summary here of election year stuff. That's where it's at. We are publishing a summary of all of this on our SEANZ website, which will be up next week, showing clearly what the policies are and who and how they can help our industry. I will say this, we've been working with the Labour guys for a long time because they've been in power. We've been working with talking to the National guys, and I have to say this, that the National guys are like this. They don't need to come out and say anything because they're leading in the polls, as we know. So right now, those conversations continue with National. I think that's it, guys. Questions? Time for a couple of questions.
We've seen from Australia that once rebates come in, that every handyman with a screwdriver becomes a solar installer. And it seems like the banks and the government are going to lean on SEANZ to, make sure that people who are putting in, suppliers are held to a high standard. You said that SEANZ membership's grown by 80% in a year. Are you letting anyone in, or is, how do you maintain that SEANZ accreditation for a solar installer is valuable? And do you understand my question?
What I think the answer what I should have stated was this: we've also turned away around 35% of applications. So as the industry's growing, there are far more accomplished electricians, solar installers who have come here from other countries. So when we do all the checks if you're not a SEANZ member, I need to explain this. We have a specific profile they have to meet. One of the key ones here in this country that we set, and we've been taken to court twice over it, and we've been taken to the Commerce Commission over it once. If you want to be a SEANZ member and you install the stuff, you must have a New Zealand domicile director. If you don't, we don't want to know. For obvious reasons. It's called the Consumer Guarantees Act. So to answer your question, because you're a SEANZ member doesn't mean you're accredited. It simply means that you're a member of the organisation, but we have been having these conversations at SEANZ around building accreditation, what that might look like, right? So Hamish, not everyone gets in, okay?
How many members are there, SEANZ members signed up?
Around 360-ish.
And how many are accredited?
Sorry, there are none that are accredited in New Zealand. There is no accreditation process.
So how are you going to manage that? Because currently you pay your SEANZ membership and we go and install solar, so how do we manage the quality and the competency of the installers?
Right now, it's very difficult to do that. What we're waiting for is the beginning of the exponential growth and conversations and discussions to make this happen. Sorry, what's that?
And it's going to get a lot busier, so how are you going to manage that? Because we need to manage it now.
With great difficulty.
How about we have a quality assurance within installers so that we can only become a SEANZ member if we are doing good work?
Look, there's about 4 or 5 different ways we can cut this, and those conversations are happening now with the board for us to define the best way to do this. We intend to be consulting in the next 3 or 6 months or so, consulting with our members about how we can do that. We know we need to move it forward, but it's not as simple as one may think, because SEANZ actually set up an accreditation program about 5-6 years ago. We took it to our members, and guess what? Guess how many signed up to it? 2. Only 2, and our members wanted it. So we've got a pretty good, we think at this point in time, we've got a reasonable idea. One of those members was, he's a long-serving member, his name's Reed Technologies, David Reed, he's in the room here somewhere. He was one of 2.
Maybe we issue that again and see how many people, because our industry's changed a lot recently.
I think there's a bit to go through before we can get there, especially around standards that are not cited and the interpretation of those and how they play out. So there's a bit of work to go to sort it.
Okay, so 10 years, because that's the standard, still 10 years old.
Look, we take your point. We really take your point.
Okay, maybe then we look at not opening up SEANZ membership until these are sorted, so we ensure the quality of all the installations that are happening.
No, if we go the other way, we've been going the other way, taking those people on board that we can actually work with around the standards. This is what it needs to be, because if we don't take an intermediate step, guess what? The cowboys still keep coming, and they still keep creating issues which we see in our disputes resolution processes we have. So we have complaints from consumers against non-members that come to us. We can't do anything, and we advise the consumer about what action they should take. If you're a member, we can take action, which we do.
I get asked to provide references all the time for SEANZ to become SEANZ members. And
So, Jeff, can I just ask you to introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are?
Jeff Albert, J. Russell, National Renewable Energy Manager. Yeah, so you got to take it seriously when you're providing a reference for someone who wants to become a SEANZ member. There's many people that apply that have never done an installation. They just want to start taking advantage of the interest rate.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Well, guys, that's me. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rebecca. There's a few of us around from SEANZ. Come and talk to us if you need help, advice, want to talk about anything. Thank you, guys.